Our story begins at a corporate office, where the employees notice a strange woman. One of them asks who she is, and her colleague explains that she is Xian's girlfriend, here to break up with him. Indeed, she tells Xian, "I can't stand you anymore, and I can't live with you any longer." Our hero, Xian, is confused and asks for the reason. The girl furiously replies, "The sight of you disgusts me." Hearing this, Xian is shocked and speechless. She continues, "I only dated you initially because I thought you had a future in cultivation, but you didn't even get into a good university, and your whole family are basically amateur practitioners." Xian doesn't want her to leave, so he says, "I can give you all my possessions, jewelry, even soul stones." But the girl slams the desk violently, yelling, "All the gifts you bring me are garbage." She points to the earrings he gave her, mocking how they are supposedly filled with spiritual energy. Meanwhile, a female coworker gets so angry at these harsh words that she breaks her mouse. Her friend asks what's wrong, and the girl says Xian's girlfriend crossed the line. Her friend calms her down, advising her to focus on work and not interfere in others' affairs. On the other side, Xian is deeply devastated. His girlfriend asks what's wrong with him now, and he replies, "I want you to return everything I bought for you." Furious, she stands up, knocking over her chair, and screams, "I curse you! I hope you die a gruesome death." Unbothered, Xian coldly replies, "You can just mail my things back if you don't want to hand them over personally." The girl slams the door in a rage, shouting, "I'll throw them all in the river." He replies, "Which river exactly, so I can go get them?" His co-workers laugh at his response, finding him hilarious and entertaining. Suddenly, the manager appears behind Xian's co-workers, terrifying the girls. He asks if they've met the company's targets yet. Manager Zhang then spots Xian sleeping. He glares at him, asking if he pays him a salary just to come and sleep. A co-worker defends Xian, asking the manager to let it slide because his girlfriend just dumped him, assuring him Xian will bounce back. Manager Zhang is convinced and stays quiet. Hours pass, and Xian goes up to the roof alone. Manager Zhang approaches him, asking why he didn't eat during the lunch break. Xian remains silent. The manager tells him he needs to move past this, and even offers him a drink. Xian is surprised. His manager is usually an angry, wicked man, yet this is the first time he's acting kindly. Xian accepts the drink and finishes it. He then stands up and screams at the top of his lungs, "I did everything for her, but she still left me and even wished me dead." Calming down slightly, he sighs, "I guess I feel better after screaming." He thanks the manager for being nice to him for the first time in his life. But suddenly, Xian feels extremely dizzy. He deduces the drink must have been spiked. He looks around as the world spins, wondering what's happening to him. As he collapses, he catches a glimpse of Zhang smiling down at him with a look of pure evil. Time skips forward. Xian opens his eyes as he regains consciousness, groaning that his head feels heavy. He looks down and realizes both his hands are chained to the walls of a dark cave. Zhang speaks up, "Good, you're finally awake," and approaches him. Confused, Xian asks what's going on. Zhang replies, "You are the person I've been looking for a very long time." Xian demands Zhang stay away and curses at him. Angered, Zhang punches him hard in the face, grabs his head, and sneers, "You're not funny." He tells Xian to look below to understand his situation. Xian looks down and sees glowing eyes in the abyss. The eyes draw closer, and suddenly, a massive, terrifying dragon emerges. Zhang welcomes the beast, addressing it as the Heavenly Dragon Lord, and announces he has brought a premium sacrifice, one whose body contains ancient roots. Upon hearing this, the dragon hands Zhang a condensation pill, saying, "I keep my promises, as long as you bring me what I desire." Thrilled, Zhang knows this pill will allow him to cultivate and evolve rapidly. He turns and leaves to continue his training. The dragon approaches Xian, asking if he has any last words before he dies. Xian thinks for a few seconds and replies, "Actually, your breath smells terrible. You should really brush your teeth." The dragon is infuriated. "You clearly don't know who I am," it roars, introducing itself as the Lord of the Clouds and the ruler of the sky, listing off its grand achievements. After a moment, it calms down, scoffing, "I never expected to be angered by a lowly human like you." Using its magic, the dragon shatters Xian's chains. It steps closer and says, "Normally, I swallow humans whole. But since you're so arrogant, I'm going to eat you piece by piece, starting with your legs." Xian smirks. "You shouldn't start with my legs. They smell really bad, and it'll make your breath even worse." The dragon roars furiously, demanding Xian shut up. It snaps its jaws, literally biting off Xian's entire lower half. Xian experiences unimaginable agony but stifles his screams. His facial veins bulge to the bursting point. Strangely, an incomprehensible mark appears on his hand. As his arm is severed and falls, the trauma triggers a forbidden bloodline skill within him. He is presented with skill options. The first is Blood Life and Death, which forces the killer to feel the exact same pain and damage inflicted on the victim, while the victim is continuously resurrected as long as the skill was activated before death. The second option is Mutual Annihilation, which simply causes both the killer and the victim to die together. All of this turns out to be Xian muttering to himself in a classroom. The teacher yells at him, "What is all this nonsense you're spouting about curses?" He mocks Xian, and the entire class bursts into laughter, but Xian just stands there silently. We then move to a female teacher who asks the head teacher, Een, if he admitted Xian because of his amazing talent. Een replies, "Yes, of course," while opening his desk drawer to glance at the bribe money Xian gave him. He verbally claims Xian is uniquely talented, but inwardly, he knows it's a lie. Een is certain Xian will be expelled after the first monthly exam, and he'll simply pocket the money. A colleague chimes in, calling Xian pure trash, who will never achieve anything even if he trains to death. Een laughs, agreeing completely. Back to our hero, who stands alone in the classroom, pondering what talent he needs to cultivate and grow stronger. He recalls how, while the dragon was eating him, a dormant spiritual root in his hand activated. Suddenly, his ex-girlfriend's words, calling him a loser who couldn't get into a good university, echo in his mind. He is annoyed that he is still thinking about her words. We learn he paid the head teacher a bribe just to transfer to this school to get away from her. Just then, a student swaggers in and aggressively slams his foot onto Xian's desk. He tells Xian that from now on, he needs to learn the rules. He must bring him various cultivation potions every week. The other students whisper that Shibai, a notorious bully, has started his usual routine for initiating new students, and Xian is his latest target. Xian is confused. "Why should I give you potions? And why are you standing in front of me like this?" Shibai sneers. "Because everything in this place belongs to me, and I do whatever I want." He then announces he's going to jump out the window, because he hates stairs. He walks to the ledge, warning Xian that if he doesn't bring the potions, he'll tie him to the pole outside the school and torture him. As Shibai throws one leg over the sill to jump, Xian looks at his foot, gets a wicked idea, and strikes Shibai's leg, tripping him. Shibai screams as he plummets, crashing face first into the ground. The students are shocked by Xian's audacity. They rush to the window, but assume Shibai was just practicing his steel fall technique and wouldn't die from it. Shibai indeed survives, but he gets up furiously, screaming that he will break Xian's legs today. Back in the classroom, a classmate tells Xian he is doomed. Shibai is notoriously powerful and undefeated. The last person who challenged him had their entire family wiped out. He advises Xian to avoid Guji Street, as Shibai and his gang always hang out there to ambush and torture people. Time passes, and our hero ignores the warning, casually walking right through Guji Street. Shibai is waiting there with his gang. They've decided to destroy Xian immediately, so Shibai doesn't have to waste time on a piece of trash. Shibai is annoyed, assuming Xian is too terrified to ever show up. "But I planned ahead," he says. "I've stationed my men in every street." One of his lackeys praises his brilliance. Suddenly, Xian shocks them all by strolling into the area. "Who said I would hide or run?" he asks. A lackey turns, stunned to see Xian, calling him insane for walking right into his own death. Even Shibai is surprised by Xian's lack of fear, wondering if he is hiding some secret power. Xian boldly taunts them. "You guys are cowards. You should have waited for me at the gate, not in some distant alley." Enraged by his words, one of the lackeys charges at Xian, screaming, "I'll kill you right now!" He delivers a devastating kick to Xian's stomach, sending him flying. Xian crashes into a brick wall, shattering it. The bullies are confused. Xian's extreme confidence made them think he was strong, but he turned out to be incredibly weak. Shibai sighs in relief, glad his worries were unfounded. Xian slumps down, coughing up blood. The lackey gloats. "That kick definitely ruptured your internal organs. You're dead." But Xian replies, "Actually, I didn't feel any pain at all. You are incredibly weak." Furious, the bully vows to beat Xian until his last breath. He pulls his leg back, preparing to smash Xian's skull. But suddenly, he realizes his leg is completely gone. The other bullies watch in sheer horror as their friend's severed leg flies through the air. The bully screams in excruciating agony, collapsing to the ground, clutching his bloody stump. Xian mocks him. "Where exactly did your leg go?" At that moment, a girl appears. She looks at Xian and says, "I finally found you." Everyone is startled. Shibai wonders if she materialized out of thin air. One of the bullies doesn't hesitate. He charges with a steel baseball bat, channeling all his magical energy into it. Shibai screams at him not to use a lethal skill, fearing it will destroy the entire area. The bully ignores him, unleashing the purple bat death strike. A massive explosion ensues, obliterating the surroundings. The deafening sound echoes everywhere. Shibai is terrified, realizing the old master will go crazy when he sees the destruction and punishes them. As the dust from the attack begins to settle, Shibai looks ahead. The bat-wielding bully is frozen in absolute shock. Shibai's jaw drops as well. They realize the terrifying attack didn't leave a single scratch on the girl. She stands there completely unfazed, as if nothing happened. To understand this, we rewind time slightly. High above, on floating islands in the sky, a girl is playing a game with a strange entity that has a chess piece head. The entity addresses her as the Great Dragon, and asks why she has taken a human form for so long. She replies, "If I followed the Heavenly Palace's rules and took my true form, I'd look like you, a human body with an animal head." The entity asks if her words are meant to be hurtful. Then it says, "No, I just wanted to point out that you are bleeding." The dragon girl refuses to believe it. "Impossible. I possess a legendary physique. The last time I bled was 100 years ago." The entity points out that the bleeding is getting worse. She touches her face in shock, realizing a literal fountain of blood is gushing from her. She quickly presses on the wound, casts a blood-stopping spell, and immediately takes flight, bidding the entity farewell. The entity warns her that descending to the mortal realm requires notifying the Heavenly Palace first, but she ignores him. As she flies, a spiritual death mark appears on her hand. She realizes even her immense power cannot erase it. She senses the life curse, tethering her to a mortal on Earth, and Xian is her target. Returning to the present, the dust clears completely. Shibai notices the dragon girl didn't suffer a single scratch from the direct hit. She had even deployed a barrier that protected all the surrounding buildings. She speaks up, asking if humans have forgotten how incredibly weak they are, noting they are even more pathetic than the cultivators from the era when she began her journey. Shibai screams at his surviving lackey to run, because the situation is lethal. But in the blink of an eye, without the girl even moving a muscle, the attacker's body violently explodes into a mist of blood and gore. She turns her gaze to Shibai. Paralyzed with terror, he collapses to the ground. He can't comprehend how his friend exploded when she didn't even move. He realizes this is the end. The dragon girl then uses her magic to telekinetically lift Exion from the ground. "I'm surprised you survived after I ate you," she says. She demands he remove the curse. Exion immediately recognizes her despite her human form. He apologizes for the curse but admits, "I honestly don't know how to break it." Furious, she grabs him by the leg and violently slams him into the ground, breaking his bones. She screams at him, demanding he lift the curse instantly. Nearby, Shibai watches in pure horror as this monster casually brutalizes her own supposed ally. Suddenly, the dragon girl coughs up blood. Enraged, she realizes that the more Exion gets hurt, the more she suffers the exact same damage. She realizes beating him is pointless, and she needs to find a way to break the seal. In an instant, Exion stands up, his body completely healed. He demands compensation for being eaten. The dragon girl is infuriated by the seal's ability to instantly revive him. "You are the first person to ever speak to me with such insolence," she snarls. "What exactly do you want?" Exion smirks. "I just want to be immortal." She screams in his face, asking if he thinks she's some wish-granting fairy. Exion is slightly intimidated but counters. "And what happens if you refuse to help me?" With a wicked glint in his eye, he threatens, "I'll throw myself into a vat of acid and die every single day. I'll repeat the process for all eternity. And you will feel all my agony and bleed forever." The dragon girl is furious, calling his threat extortion. She warns him she could easily imprison him forever until she finds a way to break the seal. Exion smirks. "Don't worry, I've prepared a failsafe just in case you try that." A faint aura surrounds him. She activates a special ocular skill and sees a massive, terrifying shadow looming behind Exion. Beneath the shadow is a horrifying face radiating a dreadful aura. She grows uneasy, realizing the entity inside Exion could genuinely harm her. Without a second thought, she tosses a book to Exion. "You can't achieve immortality in a single step," she tells him. "This book will serve as your first step." Exion catches it and reads the title. "Skill prepayment." "Nice title," he remarks. Inwardly, the dragon girl thinks Exion is a fool. Her master plan is to force him to cultivate to his absolute limit, so that when she finally breaks the seal, she can devour his cultivated essence and gain massive power. Unbeknownst to her, Exion thinks he is the one exploiting her and mentally laughs at her expense. Meanwhile, Shibai has his face pressed against a wall, desperately praying the dragon girl doesn't notice him. She glances at him, and he trembles, thinking he's dead. "I won't waste my time on a mere ant like you," she says. She snaps her fingers, commanding him to forget everything he just witnessed. A surge of energy strikes Shibai. He screams in terror, begging not to die. Time jumps forward. We see Shibai suddenly scream out loud in class. Teacher Jian yells at him to control himself, stating that such insane behavior is strictly forbidden during exams. Shibai clutches his head in confusion. He has zero memories of yesterday's events and doesn't even know what he's supposed to do today. Teacher Jian raises his voice, announcing to the class that the monthly exams are starting today. He emphasizes that the students who rank last will be expelled from the school. He hypes them up, announcing the first test will gauge their physical cultivation, urging them to do their best for the sake of their futures. Exion is confused. He asks his classmates how they can have an exam when they haven't been taught anything yet. A friend explains that all the teaching happens in the first 2 years. The final year is entirely self-study, asking Exion if he hasn't been taking private extra lessons. Exion is even more confused. His friend clarifies that literally everyone here takes private lessons because the final year consists of nothing but exams. The friend then points to another student, teasing him that he won't be last this year. When the student asks why, the friend points at Xian. Because Xian doesn't take any extra lessons. He's going to be dead last instead of you. The surrounding students burst into laughter. The friend then wonders aloud why the terrifying bully Shibai let Xian off the hook. At that moment, Shibai glares at Xian. He feels an intense hostility toward him, though he can't remember why. He remembers that some of his lackeys were killed and suspects Xian might be involved. Teacher Jian interrupts his thoughts, announcing the first test, measuring destructive power by breaking through magical barriers. He calls Shibai up first, expecting a high score since Shibai is their top student. Shibai calmly steps up, focuses, and hurls his spear with tremendous force at the magical wall barriers lined up sequentially. The spear pierces through wall after wall until it finally stops. The teacher announces Shibai pierced 5 magical walls, praising him as a powerful genius. The girls cheer for him. However, Shibai feels anxious, not understanding what's going on, and asks his friend if that score is actually good. His friend assures him it's amazing and highly likely to earn him a recommendation to Hezhou University. He explains the test measures both destructive power and bodily cultivation, qi, concluding Shibai will easily take first place. Next up is the failure student. He grips an iron ball and throws it with all his might. It hits the wall. He prays it breaks through. It shatters the first wall and drops. The student rejoices, celebrating that he at least passed. Jian continues calling names until he reaches Xian. He is visibly annoyed, viewing Xian as trash and wondering how he even got into the school. Xian's friend warns him. If you don't pierce at least one wall, you'll be expelled immediately. Xian ignores him. Dark energy begins to gather in his hand as he activates the Dark Lightning Palm skill. He steps forward barehanded. Jian mocks him loudly. Look, a new genius is going to pierce the walls without even throwing anything. The class erupts in laughter. Shibai joins in the mockery, suggesting Xian might summon a hidden dragon to steal first place. But to everyone's shock, Xian materializes an orb of dark energy out of thin air. He pulls his arm back and hurls it with catastrophic force. The orb rockets forward, effortlessly obliterating every single barrier in its path. Jian is absolutely flabbergasted, wondering how Xian could destroy all the walls. He panics, fearing the orb might pierce the school's outer wall as well. Luckily, the orb dissipates just in time. Jian sighs in immense relief. He then stares at Xian in utter disbelief. Xian just achieved the highest score in the school's entire history. Jian admits he has never seen a skill like that in his life, deducing that Xian has reached an unfathomable level of body cultivation and qi, truly deserving the title of Heavenly Genius. The girls immediately begin swooning over our hero, declaring him special, and assuming he must come from a powerful background. The failure, student sighs in despair, realizing he is back to being dead last. Meanwhile, Xian's friend is terrified, realizing Xian could easily kill him for the insults he made earlier. Moments later, Xian notices his friend's face is pale with terror and asks what's wrong. The friend profusely apologizes for his morning remarks, offering to do absolutely anything Xian wants. Xian casually replies, "All right. Anyway, I'm in a hurry," and sprints out of the school at blinding speed. The friend assumes Xian is rushing to his intense training regimen, so he won't be late. In reality, our hero is sprinting madly, cursing to himself. That dragon is wicked. Her book is a ticking time bomb. As he runs, a system prompt warns him that he must compensate for the skill he just used by cultivating, or his qi will decrease. If that happens, his bloodline seal will weaken. A countdown timer is constantly ticking down. Xian frantically searches for a cultivation manual, but can't find one, nor does he know any cultivation methods. He is deeply frustrated because ordering a physical book means it would arrive tomorrow, and his timer would run out by then. Luckily, he remembers he can buy a digital copy. He checks the store and screams when he sees the exorbitant price. This is a rip-off! A normal book is only 100,000. He notices he only has 8.5 hours left on his timer. Annoyed by his rapidly depleting funds, having already paid a 50,000 bribe to the principal, he bites the bullet and buys the digital book for 200,000. Time ticks down. With about 6 hours left, Exion is seen practicing breathing techniques. Once done, he moves on to spiritual energy techniques, performing highly agile movements. With less than 4 hours remaining, he advances to kinetic exercises. We see him forming energy orbs and blasting them. Dust fills the area. He has clearly evolved, as his attacks easily pierce through massive trees and solid boulders. Now, only half an hour remains. Fortunately, just before the timer expires, a congratulatory message appears, confirming he has completed his cultivation. Exion sighs in relief, spreading his arms confidently. "Glad that was easier than expected," he says. But suddenly, his eyes widen in shock. Something is terribly wrong. He collapses face first into the dirt, completely motionless. Before we can comprehend what happened, the scene cuts to the heavenly island. Inside her luxurious home, the dragon girl is enjoying a piping hot shower and singing happily. But abruptly, due to the damage-sharing curse, she starts bleeding profusely. Enraged, she screams, "I literally just crafted the elixir of immortality!" She uses her mystic sight to check on Exion and realizes he overworked himself in cultivation to the point of literal death. She curses him as worthless, realizing that a minor restriction on his abilities caused him to work himself to death. Left with no choice, she casts a high-tier healing spell on herself, which completely heals her, and consequently, instantly resurrects Exion. We then jump back in time exactly 1 week. Shibai is checking the school rankings. A lackey congratulates him on breaking into the top 10. Shibai, ranked 10th, boasts about his genius, claiming even those ranked higher are nothing special. Suddenly, a girl screams. Shibai asks what's wrong. The girl points at the board. "The school loser isn't in last place anymore." Shibai checks the bottom of the list and sees the name. Exion. Shibai grins wickedly. "Looks like we've got fresh meat to play with." "That was a week ago." Returning to the present, Shibai looks at the updated rankings and is stunned to see Exion has jumped up 10 ranks after just one test. A student taps Shibai's shoulder, telling him the second exam is starting and they need to head inside. The exam begins in a massive indoor arena with stadium seating. We see a terrified student standing in the center. Suddenly, Shibai delivers an earth-shattering slap to the student's face, sending him crashing to the floor. Teacher Jian yells for the medics to take the loser to the clinic immediately. Exion, not understanding the test, asks his friend what's happening. The friend explains it is a test of palm power and the body's impact resistance. He notes that Shibai always takes first place because of his family's signature technique. In the arena, Shibai faces his next opponent. "Everyone knows I have the strongest palm," Shibai boasts. "Now, I'll prove that I'm also made of steel and can withstand anything." The opponent is furious. "You'll pay for your arrogance." He channels all his energy into his hand and strikes Shibai square in the face. The impact creates a massive dust cloud, blinding everyone. The opponent gloats, claiming he is the best. But as the dust clears, he is horrified to see Shibai's eyes glowing like a monster's. "How are you still standing?" he stammers. Shibai's face is bruised and bleeding, but he scoffs. "Your attack is pathetic." It's his turn. He retaliates with maximum force. The opponent is launched into the air, crashing headfirst into the floor, cracking the stone, and passing out instantly. Medics rush in. Hyped by his victory, Shibai points to the stands and shouts, "Now, I want to challenge Exion." At that moment, Exion is chatting with his friend about cultivation methods, clearly clueless about the basics. His friend asks what school he transferred from. When Exion tells him, the friend sighs. "No wonder you lack the fundamentals. That school is garbage." The friend explains a crucial rule. Cultivation techniques are patented. You must be legally authorized to practice them. Otherwise, you face severe legal punishment. However, patented techniques are far superior to open-source ones. Down in the arena, Teacher Jian uses his magic to instantly repair the damaged floor with golden energy. He then calls Xian down to take his test. Xian complies and stands before Shibai. Shibai is frustrated. Every time he looks at Xian, his heart pounds with an inexplicable fear. Angry at his own emotions, Shibai resolves to crush Xian right now to regain his confidence. Xian speaks up casually. By the way, we don't need to take turns. We can just strike each other at the same time and get it over with. Enraged, Shibai snarls. Get ready and drop the arrogance. Xian raises his hand, preparing the standard steel palm. Shibai mocks him. Your open-source trash techniques will never work against me. Shibai activates his family's patented technique, the 100-fold refined steel palm. Both of them lunge, hands flying toward each other's faces. Jian watches tensely, waiting for the outcome. They strike simultaneously. Xian stands perfectly still, completely unfazed. Shibai, however, looks utterly shell-shocked as all his teeth fly out of his mouth. The immense force launches Shibai across the arena. He slams into the reinforced wall so hard he leaves a deep crater, stuck firmly inside it without falling. The entire arena goes dead silent. Everyone is paralyzed with shock. Teacher Jian is dumbfounded. Xian used a basic, open-source steel palm, but right before the impact, he seamlessly transitioned into the 100-fold refined steel palm. This technique is strictly patented by Shibai's family, and anyone caught stealing it would face their lethal wrath. Xian calmly tells Jian, I think you need to send Shibai to the clinic. He's badly hurt. But Shibai is just staring blankly, unresponsive. When someone calls his name, he suddenly snaps to attention, looking at Xian like an obedient dog asking, What is it? Jian gets straight to the point, asking Xian, Who is the master that taught you? Xian smirks. Come closer, and I'll tell you. Jian leans in, and Xian whispers in his ear, My master is a dragon lord. Jian's eyes widen in absolute disbelief. The scene shifts to Shibai in the clinic. His face is heavily swollen, his neck is in a brace, and he is cursing Xian's name. Shibai's older brother is there, holding a picture of Xian. This kid looks familiar. He murmurs. We discover that Shibai's brother is none other than manager Zhang. Shibai asks if he knows Xian. Zhang replies, Yes, I know him. Inwardly, Zhang is furious and baffled as to how Xian survived the heavenly dragon after he was offered as a sacrifice. Zhang changes the subject, asking his brother about the upcoming chemistry exam. Shibai replies, It's about crafting and detecting poisons. Zhang smiles wickedly. Excellent. We are going to have a lot of fun. We then cut to a junkyard filled with wrecked cars. Xian is there, delivering devastating palm strikes to the scrap cars, completely flattening them. He finishes his palm training. The junkyard owner approaches, telling him his shift is over. He thanks Xian for efficiently crushing the specific cars he needed scrapped and informs him the payment has been wired to his account. Xian leaves, pleased. I finished my cultivation and made some extra cash, he notes. Just then, a system notification pops up. He has used detection 20 times. To balance it, he must now endure 20 physical strikes. Annoyed, Xian wonders who he can find at this hour to beat him up. Suddenly, a figure steps out of the shadows and asks, Are you Xian? Xian lies. No, Jian, which is his teacher's name. The man scoffs. Stop lying. Shibai sent me here specifically to teach you a brutal lesson. We learn this man is Xian, a 9th-level spiritual realm expert, a very high rank. Xian leans in closely and says, Oh, I thought you were a debt collector. That's why I was acting. Xian is unsettled. Xian shows zero fear despite not even being in the spiritual realm yet. Suddenly, Xian slaps Xian hard across the face, shouting, Stop messing around. The strike sends Xian flying backward. Xian immediately follows up, leaping at him, mocking, You're all talk, but actually pathetic. He is shocked to see Xian looking right back at him, completely uninjured. Xian smiles and says, "Hit me again. But harder this time." Xian punches him viciously in the face. Xian just smiles wider. Xian follows up with a devastating axe kick to the back of Xian's head. Xian is visibly delighted by the beating. Xian is thoroughly creeped out, wondering how Xian's aura is weakening from the blows, yet he keeps smiling. Deciding to end the fight, Xian gathers intense energy in his palm and executes the triple chain sequence. He strikes Xian in the chest 3 times in rapid succession, so fast it looks like a single blow. The catastrophic force sends Xian rocketing through the air, crashing into a massive boulder, shattering it into dust. As the dust clears, Xian is on his hands and knees. Xian approaches, sneering, "Students these days are so weak. All bravado and no substance." Xian is bleeding heavily from the attack, but instantly, his wounds close, and he fully recovers. Xian is horrified. How is his regeneration speed this insane? Not even the best healers can do that. Determined to finish it, Xian gathers all his power for a final, lethal strike and brings his hand down on the back of Xian's neck. The impact explodes like a bomb. A system prompt notifies Xian that he has successfully taken 20 strikes. His task is complete. Xian sighs in deep satisfaction, his eyes glowing with the intensity of a predator. Seeing this, Xian is filled with dread. Xian raises his hand, activating the Dark Lightning Orb, and blasts Xian. Xian braces himself, scoffing. "That's a rookie attack. I can catch it with one hand." Xian grins. "Be my guest." He then prepares his palm, enveloping it in a golden aura, seamlessly fusing the basic steel palm with a 100-fold refined technique. With terrifying speed, he buries his palm deep into Xian's stomach. The impact launches Xian like a missile. He crashes through several thick trees before finally skidding to a halt, barely staying on his feet. He coughs up copious amounts of blood. Trembling, he channels his energy to heal himself, completely baffled that a mere high schooler could inflict such damage and force him to use healing arts. Suddenly, Xian notices a red glow on his hand. He looks down and is horrified to see Xian's dark lightning orb is stuck to his palm. He frantically tries to throw it away, but it clings to his flesh like glue. He screams in terror, wondering why it won't detach. The orb detonates with a massive explosion, completely obliterating Xian into pieces. Only his glasses survive, landing at Xian's feet. Xian picks them up. The system identifies them as dynamic glasses, which enhance the user's ability to track high-speed movements. "A nice little bonus," Xian remarks. Time passes, and we see Xian's school rank has skyrocketed to 18th. Shibai glares at the board, furious at Xian's rapid ascent. He stares at Xian, unable to comprehend how he survived Xian's assassination attempt. Suddenly, a girl approaches Xian, offering him 5 common cultivation pills in exchange for his secret to leveling up so fast. The other students are disgusted by her cheap attempt to exploit him with low-tier pills for a massive secret. Xian, of course, ignores her completely. The scene transitions to the chemistry exam. Teacher Chan instructs the students to demonstrate their skills in crafting and detecting poisons. She emphasizes that poison detection is a vital survival skill, as high-ranking individuals are frequent targets for assassination. She places sample vials in front of everyone, instructing them to consume only the non-toxic ones. Grading is based on speed, with bonus points for identifying the specific poison. Shibai smirks wickedly, thinking, "Xian is a dead man today. My brother hired an expert to tamper with Chan's samples." Shibai knows Xian will never detect the poison, as it was crafted by a master, and even the teacher is completely oblivious to it. The students begin using their various abilities to analyze the samples. Some sniff them, others use chemical reagents, and one girl uses her magical energy to probe them. Teacher Chan recognizes this girl as a prodigy in poison detection. Chan then approaches Xian, asking why he hasn't done anything yet. Shibai watches in glee, thinking, "He can't do anything. He doesn't know how to test them." And if he eats any of them, the extreme poison will kill him instantly. With no other options or skills to rely on, Exion simply reaches out, grabs a sample, and eats it. The scene abruptly cuts to the dragon girl. She sighs. Ever since I reached the ruler tier, everything has been so boring. I'm reduced to just hunting for sport. Suddenly, blood erupts from her eyes, ears, and every orifice on her face. We rewind exactly 5 minutes. Exion proceeds to eat every single sample in front of him. Teacher Chan is horrified. Are you insane? That will kill you. She then tries to calm down. Don't worry, I anticipated crazy students like you, so I diluted the doses. You won't die. But Shibai laughs inwardly, knowing Chan is dead wrong. The hidden poison is lethal enough to kill anyone instantly. Seconds later, blood begins pouring from all of Exion's facial orifices. Chan shrieks in shock. Exion collapses to the floor, dead. Terrified, Chan checks his pulse and announces to the class that he is gone. The students gasp in horror, whispering that this scandal will make national news. Shibai sits quietly, suppressing a massive grin to avoid suspicion. Chan is devastated, realizing this incident will ruin her evaluation and her chance at a promotion. She suspects the PE teacher tampered with the samples to sabotage her career. Her panicked thoughts are interrupted when Exion casually sits up, completely healthy, and calls her name. Chan jumps back in sheer terror. How are you alive? She stammers. She doesn't know if he faked his death or resurrected, but she's just relieved he's breathing. Exion speaks up. By the way, all 5 of those samples were lethally poisoned. He cuts his finger and uses his blood to write a symbol on his hand. Chan recognizes it instantly. The air-ending poison. Shibai is utterly horrified. Impossible, he thinks. The poison was crafted by a condensation realm expert. No one has ever detected it before, let alone survived it. Time passes, and Chan takes a sample of Exion's blood to analyze in her lab using her magic. After working through the entire night, she confirms Exion was absolutely right. She also deduces the poisoner was indeed a condensation realm expert. She realizes Exion is far from an ordinary student. Meanwhile, our hero heads to the library. He examines the burn-like laser scar on his hand. I didn't expect a communication method like this, he mutters. The dragon girl had mocked him earlier, asking how he possessed such a bloodline technique without knowing anything about it. She explained that since their life forces are linked, they will use this method for emergencies. We see a flashback of Exion cutting his hand repeatedly to establish the link. He complains about the pain, asking if rulers have better communication methods. The dragon girl scoffs. Just because I'm a ruler doesn't mean I have absolute freedom. She explains that if the Heavenly Palace discovers she descended to Earth or communicated with Immortal, she will face severe punishment. Exion changes the subject, asking her for the locations of top-tier treasures. She refuses, stating the only thing she will share with him is the skill book. Back in the present, Exion's blood drips onto the library floor. The librarian hears the noise and approaches, looking annoyed. This is the first time I've seen someone actively self-harm in my library, she says. Am I supposed to clean that up? Exion quickly apologizes, promising to clean it himself, and asks for help finding some books. She agrees. Exion states, I'm a senior, and I need books detailing the condensation realm. The librarian is stunned. Are you preparing for condensation already? University entrance exams are a whole year away. Exion asks if reaching that realm is difficult. She scoffs. If you reach condensation now, you'd get an instant recommendation to any university in the country. She mutters about how students these days have impossible ambitions. However, she pulls out 3 books, telling him they are the best available, and if he understands them, it will be a massive achievement. Exion places a completely different book on the counter. I want this one. The librarian is annoyed. You should listen to my advice, but do whatever you want. Exion takes the book, opens it, and immediately flips to the very last chapters to start reading. The librarian watches him, thinking he's an idiot for picking a highly complex book and starting from the end. Xian leaves the library, reviewing the requirements to reach the condensation realm. The prerequisites are level 10 body cultivation, chi, a condensation pill, and vast amounts of medicine to survive the lethal breakthrough process. I have everything except the condensation pill, Xian notes. The scene shifts to Shibai's house. Someone is screaming. Shibai is furious, confronting the poison expert. You call yourself an expert? Your poison couldn't even kill a high school student. The expert bows his head, baffled. Something must have gone wrong. Please give me one more chance. I promise I won't fail. Shibai glares at him. Fine. You have exactly 1 week to poison him. If you fail, I will cut off your head. Suddenly, Shibai hears a loud crash from above. He looks up just as the ceiling violently caves in. Debris rains down as Xian crashes through the roof, his sword drawn, plunging directly toward Shibai. To understand everything, we rewind time by a few minutes. We see one of Shibai's guards shocked to find his comrade lying unconscious on the ground in front of him. He yells, quickly pulling out his walkie-talkie to report an intruder. But before he can even speak, he gets struck hard on the back of the neck and collapses, out cold. A little later, we see Xian has quietly defeated all the guards. He stands on the roof, crouches down, and touches the surface. Through it, he hears Shibai ordering a poison expert to assassinate Xian within a week. Xian envelopes his hand in a powerful aura, smashes through the roof, and drops to the floor below. Hearing the crash, Shibai is startled. Xian instantly shatters the second ceiling, plunging directly toward Shibai with his sword drawn. The sword pierces straight through Shibai's body and embeds itself into the sofa. However, the blade only strikes his shoulder. Shibai screams in agony, but he is not dead. Desperate, Shibai extends his palm, unleashing a massive blast of energy at our hero. Xian extends his free hand, blocking the attack effortlessly, while simultaneously ripping the sword out of Shibai's shoulder. The force sends Shibai flying backward, crashing through the wall behind him, and slamming violently into the next wall. At that exact moment, Xian catches a glimpse of needles flying toward him. He spins around, deflecting them masterfully with his sword. He spots the poison expert lunging midair, attempting a surprise attack. Xian blocks the strike with his blade. The expert smirks, pressing a hidden button on his weapon. Another needle shoots out, aimed directly at Xian's eye. Xian jerks his head back with lightning speed, narrowly avoiding a lethal hit. The needle merely grazes his cheek. The expert jumps back, taunting Xian. I was actually planning to hunt you down, but here you are, delivering yourself to my doorstep. He then brags that the poison on the needle that just scratched Xian is an ancient, inherited formula, vastly superior to the diluted poison Xian survived during the exam. However, Xian simply stares at the expert, looking completely unfazed and unaffected. The expert is utterly baffled by Xian's calmness, unable to understand why he isn't collapsing. Ignoring the expert, Xian locks onto Shibai and charges at him with terrifying speed, sword raised. Shibai panics as Xian closes the distance. Luckily for Shibai, he jerks his head aside at the very last millisecond. Xian's sword misses, plunging deep into the concrete wall. Without pausing, Xian rips the sword out and launches another sweeping attack. Shibai leaps backward, dodging just in time, as Xian abruptly stops his assault. He notices another barrage of needles flying at him, and halts before they can pierce his body. Xian turns his deadly gaze back to the expert. The expert glares back, furious. How dare you ignore my attacks? He screams. He is utterly bewildered, knowing that the poison should have killed Xian instantly. Meanwhile, a statue in the room suddenly splits perfectly in half. The expert points his weapon forward, unleashing a massive volley of needles. He yells at Shibai. Run now! I'll hold him off. Shibai doesn't hesitate and flees. The endless barrage of needles pins Xian down, preventing him from chasing Shibai. Seconds later, Shibai crashes through a glass window and escapes into the night. With Shibai gone, the expert raises his hand, declaring, Now, I will show you my true power. He unleashes a wave of energy. Suddenly, the needles embedded in the walls hollow out, spewing a thick, highly toxic green mist into the room. Xian tries to cover his nose, realizing the toxicity of this mist is far deadlier than the needles. However, the poison takes effect instantly. Xian's veins bulge and turn a sickly green. He collapses to the floor, dead. The expert laughs maniacally, walking over to Xian's lifeless body. No one is immune to all poisons. He gloats. Simultaneously, another statue splits in half. At that exact moment, Xian's eyes snap open, glowing fiercely. He returns to life. He snatches his sword from the ground, springs up, and aggressively attacks the broken statues. We discover these statues belong to the dragon girl. She uses a unique technique to redirect damage to these statues, preventing herself from bleeding out due to the curse. Seeing two statues destroyed, she realizes Xian is in extreme danger. Back to our hero. Xian lunges forward, driving his sword straight through the expert's chest. The expert stares in utter disbelief, unable to fathom how a condensation realm master like himself could be defeated by a mere student. He collapses, dead. Xian confirms the kill, grabs the expert's bag, and declares he's taking all the loot. Meanwhile, Shibai has fled to a mountain road. He is panting heavily from running and curses. Damn it! I left my phone behind! This is really bad! He decides to flag down a passing car to borrow a phone and call for backup. Boiling with rage, he vows, I will gather every assassin we have and slaughter Xian's entire family. Who exactly are you trying to kill? A voice asks. Shibai freezes. Xian is standing right next to him, sword raised high. Xian swings, aiming to decapitate him. Shibai instinctively activates his steel technique, raising his arm to block the lethal blow. The sword slices deep into his arm. Shibai leaps backward, deciding to retreat. But as he steps back, he is shocked to find a dark lightning orb hovering right in front of his face. The orb detonates with a catastrophic explosion. Shibai is blown off the mountain road, screaming in terror as he plummets. He crashes heavily onto the ground below. Xian immediately leaps down after him, sword in hand. Terrified, Shibai begs Xian to wait, desperately screaming, I am the third son of the Zhang family. Xian completely ignores the plea. Without a word, he swings his sword and cleanly decapitates Shibai. Once the deed is done, Xian summons another lightning orb. Since I've died multiple times in these fights, I'm not going to let you off with just a simple death, he says coldly. He hurls the orb, incinerating Shibai's corpse to ash. There. No evidence left behind. Xian mutters. But the Zhang family definitely won't let this go. They'll come after me. Xian checks his loot, pulling out a condensation pill. I managed to get 3 of these, plus some other items. I should sell them. As soon as he says the word, sell, a system notification pops up, informing him that the store feature has been unlocked. Xian is surprised, noting, this functions exactly like a system. Impressed, he opens the store interface and navigates to the selling tab. He sells off the useless weapons and items he looted, earning over 1 million coins. He browses the store to buy gear. He finds a sword priced at 1 million coins. This is robbery, he complains. Artifacts on the black market are way cheaper than this. He keeps browsing and spots a pair of magic pants that are completely indestructible and feature a spatial storage pocket. He decides to buy them. Next, he purchases the blood dagger, a weapon that increases in attack power the more blood the user loses. He also buys a dynamic contact lens to enhance his kinetic vision, allowing him to track high-speed movements effortlessly. He adds a shock-resistant shirt to his cart, and finally, grip shoes, which, when infused with energy, allow the wearer to stick to any surface. Xian stares at his shopping cart in shock and starts crying comic tears. He just spent roughly 950,000 coins. At that moment, the dragon girl smirks, saying to herself, there's no way I'd ever let that brat die. Suddenly, someone calls her name. She looks down and sees a talking cat. The cat says, "I think I've found a way to stop Exion's blood curse." A magical circle materializes, radiating immense power, as the cat begins weaving a formation. The cat explains, "I investigated Exion's bloodline. It's nothing special. Practitioners from his bloodline usually place their curses on weak beasts, which is why they always died quickly." The dragon girl is confused. "Then how did Exion manage to curse me, a ruler tier being?" The cat replies, "It's highly likely because of the Heavenly Palace's restrictive spell. When you descended to Earth, your power level was temporarily suppressed." The cat elaborates that Exion's curse is fundamentally tied to his cultivation level. Right now, his cultivation is extremely weak. It equates to only a tiny fraction of your total health pool. If you simply drain that specific fraction of your life force, the curse will break, and Exion will die instantly. The formation is complete. The cat tells the dragon girl to step inside. She raises the magical circle above her head. Instantly, her body levitates, and she screams in pain as a strange, grotesque appendage resembling a massive blood vessel erupts from her body. The vessel stretches incredibly far, descending all the way down to Earth, entering Exion's room, and violently piercing straight into his chest. Exion is fast asleep, completely unaware. Back to the dragon girl, she notes. Exion's curse has manifested into a physical vessel. She envelopes her hand in a powerful aura, grabs the fleshy vessel, and prepares to sever it. She is just seconds away from cutting it when a sudden knock on her door interrupts her. Surprised, she stops and asks who is there. A voice replies, "I am a servant. I am here to inform you that the Heavenly Minister himself has requested your presence." The cat is suspicious. Why send a servant directly? Usually, they just send a formal letter when you're summoned. The dragon girl's eyes narrow. This means whoever sent him does not have good intentions. We transition to the Heavenly Palace. A radiant golden throne emanates a majestic aura. A man asks the dragon girl if she wishes to sit on it. She looks at the Heavenly Minister, who tells her, "The Emperor hasn't been here in a long time. It's perfectly fine if you want to sit on the throne for a bit." The dragon girl thinks to herself, "He's the one who desperately wants that throne." She asks why she was summoned. The minister replies coldly, "I brought you here to inform you that your request for promotion to High Immortal has been officially rejected." The dragon girl is furious. "I abandoned my entire kingdom and all my followers to join the Heavenly Palace because you promised me that promotion after 100 years. The minister shrugs dismissively. "Things change. There are many promotion requests now. To avoid complaints, you need to achieve greater merits and raise your level." Without another word, the dragon girl turns and storms out. The minister scoffs. "She's always in such a rush. She left before I even finished speaking." Back with the cat, she is surprised by how quickly the dragon girl returned. The dragon girl rockets through the sky at top speed, absolutely seething with rage. The cat worries, realizing that the dragon girl, whose true name is Lord Long, is burning with uncontrollable fury. Long flies directly toward a massive mountain and crashes into it with catastrophic force, completely obliterating the peak into rubble. The cat hops onto the debris, nervously asking if Long is okay. Long is lying flat on the ruins, sighing, "I feel much better now that I've vented a bit of my anger." The cat is speechless, noting that destroying an entire mountain is far from a bit. Long thinks for a moment and smirks. "I guess now is the perfect time to force Exion to take his cultivation seriously." We immediately cut back to our hero. Exion is deep in the forest, causing a massive commotion with his intense cultivation training. A nearby bird chirps annoyedly at the noise. Exion takes a deep breath, concluding his breathing exercises. "My foundation is incredibly solid now. I'm ready to break through to the condensation realm," he says, having prepared everything. He initiates the breakthrough. He unleashes a massive surge of energy, shouting powerfully. The energy violently spirals into a colossal tornado that reaches the clouds. As the tornado dissipates, A thick dust cloud covers the area. Exion stands in the center, his eyes glowing with immense power. He realizes he has successfully broken through to the condensation realm ahead of schedule. All his stats have skyrocketed, he feels exponentially stronger, and new features in his system have been unlocked. A prompt appears, detailing the payment method required for his advanced skills, which includes consuming a condensation pill and fulfilling a few other minor conditions. Exion is thrilled, finding the requirements surprisingly easy. However, a sudden bonus quest pops up. Clear a secret realm while under the effects of the bleeding curse before the time limit expires. Exion is annoyed.
This quest only popped up because I was getting too excited and bragging,
he grumbles. He notices a glow beneath him, and is shocked to see a magical teleportation circle.
No time to prepare,
he realizes. A countdown begins. He is exactly 20 minutes. Suddenly, he realizes there is no ground beneath him. He is free-falling. Exion senses this mission is incredibly dangerous. As he falls, he is horrified to see the floor below is covered in massive, jagged iron spikes. Acting quickly, he channels his energy into his gripped shoes and slams his feet against the cavern wall. The momentum causes him to skid downward, but he manages to stick to the wall just inches above the lethal spikes. He breathes a heavy sigh of relief.
I was a second away from dying.
He knows he must dodge the traps flawlessly, as he has no idea when the bleeding curse will trigger. Suddenly, Exion notices movement among the iron spikes. One of the spikes launches upward like a spear. Exion leaps gracefully off the wall, dodging it, and draws his dagger. A massive stone hand erupts from the wall, trying to crush him. Exion slashes it with his dagger, completely shattering it. He realizes his reflexes and strength have drastically improved, allowing him to destroy the stone hand with ease. Looking back, he sees multiple iron spikes glowing and launching at him simultaneously like a barrage of javelins. Exion scrambles up the wall, desperately racing against the flying spikes. Suddenly, an even larger stone hand descends from the hole above, hurtling directly toward him. Trapped between the spikes and the hand, Exion envelopes his fist in dark lightning, activating the Abyssal Fist skill. He punches the giant stone hand with devastating force, completely obliterating it. He leaps out of the pit, noting he has about 17.5 minutes left. The challenge intensifies as stone soldiers armed with weapons emerge from the ground. Exion groans.
I really don't have time to play with you guys.
Suddenly, Exion cries out in agony. The bleeding curse activates. He falls to his knees, blood pouring from his body uncontrollably. Seeing an opening, one of the stone soldiers charges at Exion, raising its weapon to deliver a finishing blow. The soldier strikes, but its weapon clashes against another stone hand. We discover Exion summoned this hand using his newly unlocked Stone Golem skill. Because Exion is bleeding profusely, the Blood Dagger's passive skill activates, massively boosting its attack power. Exion places his hand on the golem's weapon, uses it as a springboard, and leaps at the stone soldier, slicing it cleanly in half with his dagger. With a powerful flick of his wrist, Exion launches a stone golem hand, crushing the enemies in front of him. He relentlessly destroys the remaining stone soldiers, wiping them out entirely. The scene shifts to Manager Zhang. He has tied up the female co-worker from the office and slaps her viciously across the face, yelling at her to wake up. Bleeding from the mouth, the girl regains consciousness. She is terrified. Beneath her is a glowing magical circle, and in front of her stands a bizarre, ominous portal shaped like a bird's head, radiating dark energy. She asks Zhang how she got here, and what is happening. Zhang ignores her questions, muttering,
My breakthrough failed, even after I consumed the condensation pill.
He explains that Lord Long no longer accepts sacrifices like she used to, so he has decided to seek power from a different ruler. The girl is horrified.
I've served your company faithfully. How can you offer me as a sacrifice?
Zhang smirks.
You signed a very specific secondary contract. If you happen to disappear, neither I nor my company hold any legal liability. He shows her the contract. The girl is stunned, realizing she's been set up. Zhang presses a knife to her throat, whispering wickedly,
"Be more careful in your next life."
The terrified girl begs for mercy. But before Zhang can act, the cavern wall violently explodes. Xian steps through the rubble, smiling.
"Well, what a coincidence. Bumping into my favorite manager here."
Zhang is utterly shocked.
"How did you find this place? And how did you get past the golems guarding the entrance?"
Xian chuckles.
"I guess your dead brother forgot to mention that killing me is impossible."
Zhang is stunned, asking if Xian really killed Shibai and stole the condensation pill from him. Blinded by sudden rage, Zhang lunges at Xian with his weapon, demanding the pill back. Xian effortlessly blocks the strike with his dagger.
"Strange," Xian notes. "You don't even care how your brother died."
Zhang scoffs.
"I only helped him try to kill you in the beginning. Aside from that, I couldn't care less about him. All his possessions rightfully belong to me anyway."
Zhang infuses his hand with golden energy and attacks again. Xian infuses his own palm with energy. Zhang is surprised, recognizing it as his family's patented technique. Xian strikes Zhang's attacking arm. The impact is so devastating that Zhang's entire arm literally explodes into mist. Zhang is launched backward, crashing onto the ground right in front of the dark portal.
Bleeding heavily and unable to move, Zhang is helpless. Suddenly, dark energy tentacles emerge from the portal. They touch Zhang's blood, turning it pitch black. A terrifyingly evil aura floods the cavern. Xian senses the aura, noting it feels incredibly sinister. Checking his timer, Xian sees he has less than 9.5 minutes left. He quickly slashes the girl's chains, freeing her. Overjoyed, the girl says,
"I never expected you to become so strong after you left the company." Xian replies,
"We can catch up later. Right now, we need to leave."
He uses his golem skill, summoning a stone hand that gently scoops the girl up and carries her out of the cave to safety. Behind Xian, Zhang's lifeless body is dragged completely into the dark portal. Suddenly, glowing eyes appear from within the evil aura, followed by the emergence of a massive sword. A bizarre entity, a monster in the shape of a woman, steps out. Xian immediately uses his detection skill to gauge her strength.
However, he is shocked to find an overwhelming energy actively resisting his skill. The backlash is so severe that Xian's eyes begin bleeding. He screams in pain, bewildered that merely trying to scan her stats almost blinded him. The portal vanishes. Xian wonders what kind of horrifying entity Zhang accidentally summoned. The woman wastes no time. She charges at Xian with blinding speed, swinging her great sword. Xian raises his dagger to block, but her physical strength is monstrous. The sheer force brings Xian to his knees, cracking the ground beneath him. The blade inches closer to his shoulder, but Xian resists with every ounce of his strength to avoid losing his arm. The woman decides to switch tactics and delivers a brutal kick. Xian raises his free arm to block, but the impact is devastating. He is launched across the cavern, smashing violently into the wall. Despite the heavy damage, Xian manages to stand back up. The woman readies her sword for a lethal finishing blow. Xian realizes he desperately needs to summon his golem for defense, knowing her next strike could be fatal. But before he can even finish the thought, he is frozen in shock. The woman swings her sword, and a massive arc of energy slices entirely through Xian and the solid wall behind him, faster than he could even perceive. Instantly, all of Lord Long's statues explode simultaneously. Long is terrified, exclaiming,
"Xian is in critical danger. We're both going to die."
Back in the cave, Xian is still processing the fact that he was just sliced in half without even seeing the attack coming. He collapses, dead. The attack was supernatural. The woman raises her hand, conjuring a golden magical circle around herself. She grips her sword with both hands, locks her eyes directly on Xian's neck, and brings the blade down for a decapitation strike. But at the very last microsecond, Xian revives, moving with blinding speed, and blocks the colossal strike with his dagger. A terrifying shockwave of energy erupts, shaking the entire cavern.
Exion glares at her. You are truly ruthless. Even after I was dead, you still wanted to chop my head off. Exion moves his free hand, and a giant golem fist erupts from the ground directly behind the woman. She notices it, leaps backward, and dodges the crushing blow. But when she lands, she realizes Exion is nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Exion leaps at her from her blind spot, dagger aimed at her side. She quickly raises her sword, successfully blocking the surprise attack. However, because Exion's health bar is critically low, his blood dagger's attack power is boosted by a massive 99%. Hyped by his raw power, Exion shouts, "Now I can fight you on equal footing!" He launches a flurry of relentless, heavy strikes. The cavern crumbles around them from the sheer impact of their clashes. For the very first time, the woman is forced on the defensive, constantly retreating under Exion's assault. Exion follows up by hurling a dark lightning orb. The woman intercepts it with her sword. The resulting explosion is massive, forcing her to leap far away to gain distance. Her eyes begin to glow, complex runes swirling within them. Exion recognizes the stance. Looks like she's going to use that terrifying, unseeable slash again. He laughs confidently. I was waiting for you to do that. Exion activates his skill copying ability, perfectly mimicking her stance and energy signature. Just like before, the woman assumes her sword stance, radiating overwhelming, lethal energy, an attack known as the Heavenly Severance Strike. Opposite her, Exion is enveloped in a brilliant golden aura, fully prepared to execute the exact same technique. They both launch themselves forward simultaneously, transforming into literal beams of light that vaporize everything in their path. They clash in the center with a cataclysmic explosion. A massive dust cloud swallows the cavern. As the dust clears, Exion and the woman are standing back to back, several meters apart, both looking confident. Suddenly, the woman coughs up blood. A massive gash opens across her chest, and she collapses to her knees. Exion turns his head to look at her. Furious, she demands, "How are you completely uninjured? I attacked first." Exion smirks. "I figured that out the first time you killed me. You are indeed faster. But I anticipated you would aim for my neck again, so I preemptively guarded it. Because my prediction was right, I survived your strike, carried through with mine, and wounded you." The woman is enraged, hurling curses at him. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light illuminates the cavern. She looks up and gasps. A massive, intricate golden magical circle has appeared above her. Simultaneously, Exion receives a system prompt: perform the hand seals immediately or face the penalty. A similar magical circle appears above him. Refusing to yield, the woman begins weaving hand seals at blinding speed. Exion mirrors her, performing the exact same seals. As she continues, she realizes her seals aren't manifesting any magic. Suddenly, multiple golem hands burst from the ground, grabbing her arms and holding her in place. Furious, she struggles against the stone grips, yelling at Exion, "Do you really think this pathetic trick will stop me from completing my technique?" Exion finishes his required hand seals and casually replies, "I wasn't trying to stop you. I was just distracting you to waste your time." The woman breaks free from the golem hands, scoffing, "What good is wasting my time?" She raises her hands to finish her spell, but freezes in horror as her magical circle descends rapidly, crashing directly onto her. Multiple ceiling rings slam down, triggering a catastrophic explosion. The cavern is engulfed in dust, and a massive crater is blasted into the floor. A prompt informs Exion that he has successfully completed the bonus quest and has officially broken through to the third level of the condensation realm. As the dust settles, the woman's arm reaches out from the edge of the crater. Exion is genuinely surprised. "How are you still alive?" he asks. The woman pulls herself up, heavily wounded and bleeding. She looks at Exion calmly and says, "Since I have lost, you must kill me." Exion is intrigued. "Why are you so different from the rest? Everyone else I've beaten beg for mercy, but you just calmly ask for death." Deciding to grant her wish,
Exion raises his weapon and brings it down with lethal force. The woman closes her eyes, accepting her fate. But a moment later, she opens them in shock. She is completely unharmed. Not only that, but all her grievous wounds have instantly healed. Exion smiles, having activated his bloodline curse on her.
From this moment on,
he declares,
we share life and death.
The curse mark burns itself directly onto the woman's shoulder. Exion has successfully bound her to him.